Oh, hey, hello there. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Showdown live before lock. Got the Phillies going right now, mid-fifth, going into the bottom of the fifth, 0-0 game. They could use a win. That was tough, as a Philadelphia fan. Saturday loss, Eagles loss. I'm not one to complain, but I think some of the calls might have gone against us. That's okay, though. There's no more remaining for undefeated teams, right, Spags? The Bills and the Eagles were the remaining undefeated teams.
Yeah, that was, I think, going into last night. It was the Bills, and the Bills found a way to blow that one, which I actually went to bed early, did not see the end of the game, and seems like I didn't miss much. I'm just the Drake May lie continues on for one more week.
I don't know, man. I bet the Patriots, so I was very happy with it. But I also bet Trevion Henderson over 24.5 rushing yards. I immediately regretted that decision.
Ramondre cannot get played off the field. It's like the funniest bit Mike Vrabel's ever done in his coaching career.
It's insane. And he finishes with 24. I fell asleep too. I wake up at midnight. I'm like, oh, let me check. Oh, I won that bet, lost that bet. But man, I tell you what, I don't know. I'm watching that and I'm thinking like, a torn ACL for Gibson, another fumble for Stevenson. I thought he was just going to bring the kicker in and put him in the backfield and make Trevion Henderson watch him. But anyway, how you feeling, man? We got ourselves a nice little Chiefs Jaguars showdown.
I think it's a fun one, honestly. Like I'm curious to see what people are going to do whenever you have Patrick Mahomes, a player that might be played in about 85, potentially 90% of lineups. He's projecting infinitely better than a lot of players. We'll see if that data holds up. I think it offers some nice game theory opportunities. I think the matchups as well, kind of compelling. The Jaguars have been a team that have really, I think, outplayed any expectation they would have. Right now, they're getting about 2x league average interceptions at a 5.8% interception rate. You imagine that ends, and if they regress to the mean meaningfully, Mahomes might go nuts. But if they don't regress, then maybe the defense makes a lineup. So I think it's a fun slate. I'm actually curious to hear your takes on this one too, because I feel like we could both have completely different takes in the slate, which doesn't happen too often.
Oh, really? So does that mean you've got some hot takes? And by the way, I'm rerunning the Sims. For those of you guys who use the Sims, use the single lineup Sim. We just updated projections 10 minutes ago. Ownership just updated right now as we speak. So Spags, I'm going to run this one more time. Make sure that we have, you mentioned it before we got started. I don't think a whole lot is going to change. It seems unlikely that that's the case. There are a few spots I'm going to be looking at though, particularly to see if a guy like, Brashard Smith gets a little boost in projection, or maybe some of these other guys down there near the bottom. But Xavier Worthy is active, and that was the big one. The guy pops up on the injury report yesterday. Is this to say that you may be in hot take territory today, getting a little different?
Well, it's more that I think the ownership's going to be split down the chain. Like you have a lot of guys, I think, under 5K that you can find playable. The Chiefs have a bunch of receivers that do rotate around. And with Worthy in, you still have guys that'll get some amount of snaps, but not nearly as much. Tyquan Thornton in particular. But, like last week, Juju Smith-Schuster led the team in snaps for that team. So you kind of saw less for Worthy, less for Hollywood Brown, but still a meaningful amount. Tyquan Thornton lost his role for the most part, but he could still catch one-on-one play. And the Jags side too. Like, I mean, if you don't play Brian Thomas, do you want to talk yourself into Travis Hunter, Brenton Strange, Diami Brown? I know you had in the perfect lineup video. I'm stoked about him. I just felt like I made a lot of lineups in the single lineup Sim that were like more unique than I would have thought. And that's always encouraging for me, even though that means maybe I'll just lose all my money and be on an island by myself.
Maybe, but also maybe not, or you win all your money and you're on an island by yourself. That's the other way it goes, right? So
prepared for either outcome, but yeah, it's the hope.
Listen, man, you got to be willing to get a little bit weird here. You don't have to get a lot weird, but sometimes getting a little bit weird can be helpful. So we'll dive into all of that. I just reran the Sims right now. Favorite at 150. I'm running this right now on 2 uniques. 10,000 field. Of course, the Sims now support up to 50,000 in the contest generator, which is a sweet little addition. But yeah, I'm going to run it on 2 uniques for this showdown slate. I go a lot more when we're running the Sims on the main slates. Bags. Obviously, you could run as many uniques as you get to, optimally until you get down to the red. But as long as it's green, you're good. Don't think if it's not like simming out at 180 that you don't have a good lineup. It's simply not true. Now, if I ran this at 50,000, which I can do. I just was doing this for the sake of time here. You could easily run 3 uniques, no problem, and get a lot of them. But all right, let's dive into it. Throw the sims up on the screen. Before we do, though, take a single second this fine evening, atone for your sins. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Goes a very long way. We appreciate you greatly for it. If you haven't done so yet, only takes a second. So, yeah, let's do that. Get us up there. Run it up a little bit here. We got 1,000 people watching with us this evening. And let's see if we can get a Stokastic avatar top the leaderboards today. We had a super chat, and I want to hit this first, Spags, because this is something I talked about with Greg this morning on the strategy show. I want to get your thoughts here. Also, I should probably throw that up. There we go.
Producer extraordinaire.
Yeah. Get a little late to the office tonight. Mike H. Can't seem to get to Thornton tonight. Am I steering myself and my brother wrong? This is his first time listening to you. I see what you're doing, Mike. I get it. All right. Trying to put the pressure on us. If you want like a very objective, data-driven answer, Thornton's too expensive with Xavier Worthy back. And last week, everything would bear that out. Spags, I said this morning, this guy had 11 deep targets through 3 games. He had 1 singular target last week, and Worthy had 4 deep targets. So, I mean, he played what, 35% of snaps or something. It's just it appeared that Tyquan Thornton was the largest. It was hurt more than anybody else with Worthy returning.
Yeah, I mean, the week before last, Tyquan Thornton had 55 snaps. Last week went down to 25. So in addition to losing the targets, the role was good, but now it seems like he was priced up. They didn't know Worthy was questionable, so it's a little bit odd. But it almost seemed like he's priced up in case Worthy didn't play. But if Worthy's playing, the role is just not really there. He can hit. Maybe that makes it unique. But if you play a lot of Tyquan Thornton, I just think you're probably wasting that money in a way that's not the best for your lineups.
Oh, man, did we nail it? On the perfect lineup, I told Josh to boost Brashard Smith's projection to 5 when it was at 3. He's at 5, 6, 8 now. I got to talk about him. Like, this is the spot to me that I want to lead with. Now, maybe this seems odd to you that I'd lead with that over Patrick Mahomes or Xavier Worthy, but I trust that many of you are wise enough to understand Patrick Mahomes makes for a pretty good captain play along with Xavier Worthy, and we will get into it. But Goody with the super chat, thank you, Goody. How many meaningful snaps does Smith get? That is the question. Spags, I don't know, but I know there's enough ambiguity in that backfield that I'm willing to sprinkle a little bit tonight on a single game slate.
Yeah, again, I know in the perfect lineup, you'd put Brashard Smith in one. You made the case for him, the ambiguity in the backfield. I personally think Kareem Hunt's been better than people realize. He has been, plus EPA per rush guy, plus EPA per pass guy. He doesn't miss a lot of tackles, but he's better than Pacheco's been. I'm not on the Brashard Smith train, and there's been people I know in the best ball space, especially, have been pushing him since literally pre-NFL draft. I see it in a showdown more than I would on a main slate, but I just don't think the guys ahead of him have been bad enough so that he gets on the field more would be my concern.
I think they've been pretty bad. Maybe that's where we differ. Also, he's not like $800, but I think we could both agree to Goody's question. We really don't know how much work he's going to get. Like, you don't know. Is Andy Reid Smith a loyalist? Yeah, kind of. Like, he sticks by his guys. So maybe that's more reason to go to guys like Hunt and Pacheco today. But I mean, does Pacheco not feel overpriced based on how he's played this year?
He does. I mean, what I see from the numbers is that Pacheco and Hunt right now have a very similar role. Right now, Pacheco's playing 33 snaps a game. Hunt's at 28. Pacheco's running 16 routes a game. Hunt's running 12 and a half. Pacheco getting 1.8 red zone opportunities, targets plus rushes. Hunt's getting 1.5. I just think they're like the same guy, and whoever runs hot gets a little more work. I guess it's possible that Brashard Smith can come in and take some of that work, and but he's 3,200. Like, I think for Hunt at 42, it's like I'd rather pay that price, but certainly it could go either way, I guess.
No, I get that. And Hunt, if you're talking about goal line work, it's probably Kareem Hunt's got a shot to punch one in a game like this. So definitely not lost on me, but I wouldn't mind getting the sum. My friend EMAC with a very typical EMAC joke. You want to read that out loud for me, Spags, please, while I get these sims situated?
What did Juju say to Thornton? We're not worthy. I sold it, right? I did the best I could.
That was good. Yeah.
And you
The
gave me
end
the
of
fake
that was
laugh
very
too. So we
good.
did our part. We did our part for the old pal.
All right. Yeah, traditional knee slapper. Let's go to let's see what our exposures look like on Kareem Hunt. All right, 12% at flex, none at captain. Brashard Smith, 19% now. And even a captain lineup there, which is a little bit surprising to me. So yeah, there Sims like him a little bit, Spags. As a matter of fact, they've got him. We're essentially 3xing the field on Brashard Smith. So this is good. You're right. We do have some opposite takes out of the gate. You guys watching can, formulate your own decisions on this. Yes, Rodney Worthy is in. I don't know. I mean, I as far as Worthy's concerned, Spags, I'm not particularly worried about it. Andy Reid has never really been the type of guy that just runs guys out there if they're not okay. And I can only go off of what I've seen in the past, but do you think we should be concerned about Xavier Worthy? And if so, are you going to be playing some lineups with that in mind?
I'm not super concerned about Worthy. I mean, it's never great that his ankle swelled up, and it was apparently just from the travel. Like he was on the flight, it swelled up. It's odd because he's like 22. That's
Doesn't
like
that
something I would
usually
think
happen
that
when you're on an A&E, when you're on my 600-pound life? Isn't that
yeah, right? Like when you're like you eat too much sodium and you're a 60-year-old. Like that's
right?
usually when you're gonna
Yeah,
swell
you
up a
drank
little
a
bit.
bottle of soy sauce.
Exactly. So it's odd. I think it's if you want to be a little more concerned about it and not play him like crazy, that makes sense. But if Worthy, I think the biggest thing that stands out, he's getting targeted 35% of the time he's running a route. For comparison, I think Hollywood Brown is also a very valid play in the slate, in particular because Jacksonville goes very heavy on zone. They play zone 74% of the time, and the best guys against zone of the team so far have been Hollywood Brown. And actually, Juju Smith-Schuster is playing way too much as well. But Worthy, the big play upside's always there. He's getting targeted a lot. Like Loughy mentioned, 40 targets last week. He's now averaging 2 per game. The numbers all look good for him in terms of usage. Just comes down to, does Jacksonville oppress this Chiefs passing game? Like they have a lot of teams. Surprisingly, I think for how much Jacksonville's had success overall in the secondary in particular. But I like Worthy enough. And if people are going to be afraid of the injury stuff, like, I'm a little bit above the field, but not a crazy amount. I don't want to have him in every lineup. I think there's other guys that I would make that case for. But he's one when he gets in. I mean, I think he's the best pass catching option in terms of what the projection is, especially.
And yes, Waylon Jennings, that's exactly what Spags and I are referring to here. There's finally made it says Juju going to eat more than Worthy. That's how worried you should be. Listen, man, then you have a path. I mean, if you have Juju eating more than Worthy, I assume Juju's not going to be very popular at the captain spot either. So, I mean, personally, I don't see it for a guy that they have been pretty careful with, but maybe. So what did they say? It was due to travel?
Yeah, what I had saw on Twitter was that he had an ankle flare-up where just getting off the plane, he had swelling, and they were erring on the side of caution and put him on the injury report, basically after like the plane landed, I think.
Okay. So like a precautionary measure here.
Yeah, just to list it in case it got worse, I guess, but apparently it wasn't that big of a concern.
So they don't get fined, I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Outside of Xavier Worthy, there's nobody that you can really feel great about. And I can pull it up here and look at our exposure, Spags. So if we want, right, and let's just isolate it by Kansas City exposure. Oh, why is that not working? A team. That either? Okay, that's odd. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We can just pull it this way. Patrick Mahomes at the flex, 62%. Xavier Worthy, a lot of him too. We're pretty much matching the field on him. We are slightly overweight to Mahomes, but not much. And again, this is with me running 2 uniques across 150 lineups here. Kelsey, we're pretty close to the field. Where are we getting the most leverage today? Brashard Smith.
What politicking did you do with the sim and the data team today where Brashard Smith's like, I'm going to get a little boost?
I interact with our data team all the time, and like we'll discuss. Our data team's awesome. There's times where we'll discuss stuff, like yesterday I had asked them, I was like, do we manually boost David Montgomery's ownership because of this narrative that's everywhere, right? Like, what did he? I don't know. I don't remember what he ended up coming in the big contest. Maybe you do.
I think he was 5 to 10 range, but a little bit higher than the projections would have him.
Yeah, I mean, we had him at like 6, so I mean, it's pretty close. But or I still don't know where he was. But there are certain spots that, like we talk about. I have not mentioned Brashard Smith. What I do wonder, because when we had originally updated projections today, we do it in the morning. You don't have any props for some of these guys. Like, you're not going to have props for Brashard Smith this early in the morning. I'm going to look now. I wonder if we actually have props for Brashard Smith. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I have not. Look, I'm not on Brashard Smith train, so I don't want any reason to validate him as a human being. But the Sims, the fact he's coming up, the fact that you astutely were ahead of the curve. And again, and Loughy, to his credit, I don't normally give out these flowers because it's not usually true how it goes. You've been on fire lately in every piece of content I've done with you, so I don't want to poo-poo it too much, but I really hate the Brashard Smith thing. I've hated it all year, and it's hard for me to stop hating it right now.
Okay. Look, I'm glad we're on opposite sides of this. He does feel like he's a little bit overpriced, but I think I still get. Let's see if he has a prop. All right, 11 and a half rushing yards. Let's see where his receiving yards are. Actually, as a matter of fact, what am I doing here? Pull it up for the people. All right, so let's see. Where are we at? Receiving yards. So I told you 11 and a half on rushing yards. Does he have 11 and a half, 10 and a half? So probably 1.5 reception prop. Yeah, juiced heavily to the over. So 2, 3, 4. The projection makes sense, Spags. It doesn't mean you have to trust me. I'm not trying to sell anyone on this. All I'm saying is there's actually props on him now.
Is he realistically a better click than Bashal Tootin, LeQuint Allen? Like, do you feel that strongly that he's like a much better click than those guys?
I will tell you why I think he could be. Because barring an injury to Travis Etienne, he's the guy. He's actually having a really good season. Their pass catchers have dropped more passes than literally any team in the league through 4 weeks. Brian Thomas, who people are asking about, we're going to talk about him next. Brian Thomas has been, I don't know, a ghost. Mm-hmm. He's an aberration, Spags. You don't know like where he is most of the time until he drops a pass. So De'Ami Brown, he's whatever, who actually hasn't been that bad when given the opportunity.
He's getting targets.
That's
the battle. He's getting targets. That's usually half the battle.
Yeah, actually, I like him at his ownership, but we'll talk about it. I think there is enough uncertainty in the backfield, and that's what interests me. A lot of times I'm just going to be flat out wrong on this, and I'm okay with that. I stacked Jake Browning yesterday. Like, I'm okay being wrong with ugly spots, Like, it's going to happen. But when you're right, you tend to be more right than if you're wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm just wrong. I lose anyway. But if I'm right, I'm right. And, Greg mentioned it today that Mahomes has been speaking glowingly of him. Does Mahomes have enough pull to get him on the field? Aaron Rodgers had enough pull to get Jaylen Warren a good amount of work prior to going down with that injury in before week 4. So I think it's hard to compare him. It's not really apples to apples. Like, is he a better click than this or this? Do I think there is more room for him to run in a spot like this? Not on the ground, but to get opportunities? I kind of do, yeah. Or he just has one touch in the entire game.
I mean, look, he played, it just spooks me because he played literally 19 snaps last week, was under 10 every week before that. Even if Mahomes does campaign for him, like what, he gets you to 25 snaps, like 30 at 3,200. I think you're still paying a lot for him. But look, because anytime TDs do seem a little bit more favorable, I mean, it's still plus 400 on DK, somehow plus 550 on FanDuel. So if you really want to bet Brashard Smith for an anytime TD, do that on there. I struggled to see it, but with your record and your Steve and the Sims too, where I frequently am like, this Sim, so I get it, but fuck them.
Yeah. Big top dog. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But if I'm right, then I'm right. That's not what I said. And everybody who heard that who isn't big top dog, or apparently Spags knows exactly what I mean. What I mean is when you're wrong, it doesn't matter. You lose regardless. If you're right on Patrick Mahomes, okay, here's a good way to put it. Stop laughing, Spags.
Sorry, just gave me that one. Really gave me the giggles.
If you're right on Patrick Mahomes, you're just right. Okay, you're just right, but it doesn't differentiate you. It doesn't make a damn difference. Okay, if you're right on Patrick Mahomes today at captain, good job. You have a 35% owned Patrick Mahomes at captain. You were right, then you can brag about your friends. It doesn't mean dick, though, unless the rest of your lineup looks good. If you end up being right on Brashard Smith, that puts you in a position where being right is a lot more important than being right on Patrick Mahomes. This is just common sense, Spags. I'm sorry if the way that I articulated it made it sound a little bit confusing, but I think you understand what I'm talking about. I know, actually, as a matter of fact, I know you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I will just say to me, like, fancy play syndrome has been the bane of my last week of content, where Loughy and I did the Thursday strategy show. Somebody asking about Jimmy Garoppolo. Do we play him there? I did my splash play show on Friday. I'm talking about Rico Dowdle, why he's really important chalk on the week, whether he succeeds or doesn't succeed, because, you know, vacating a role with Chuba Hubbard, 18 touches, all the stuff we know. And some guy in my chat, Loughy, was like, I think Trevor Etienne's the only guy I'd play out of that backfield. Like, he's the only one who I would trust. And you know what? It won't even matter. Nobody's going to get above 10. And Rico Dowdle runs for 200 yards. Yeah. So I'm a little bit averse to fancy play syndrome right now, because people find the way to not play the guys who are actually good and have roles and do stuff.
But fancy play syndrome is different on showdowns, man.
It is.
Like, fancy play syndrome. Imagine going out there and playing. What was the Eagles guy against the Falcons last year? Who ended up being optimal in week 2? No. Britton Covey.
Oh yeah.
Like, you would never play Britton Covey on a main slate. Who gives a shit if the guy is practicing as a starter, you know, in warmups? But in showdown, there might be something there. So that's all. Forget about this with Brashard Smith. It's just like a larger picture thing. Sometimes it matters.
And he's not a backup QB. So, like, we're making progress. We're doing okay.
But big top dog, that was a funny comment. And I salute you for that. However, everything I said was sensible. All right. Yeah, Nolan, that's exactly what I'm saying. Go do it. Play every line out there. Luis Rivera, Loughy's Terrence Howard, and get rich or die. That's Terrence Howard and get rich or die trying. Or actually, I was thinking of Hustle and Flow. I was going to say I wouldn't put myself there.
Remember you don't want to be him off the set, I think, is where, because he's like gone completely insane. I believe that's why he doesn't get work anymore. You
didn't see his Joe Rogan episode? Wild stuff.
Oh, I did not. No, I mean,
check it out.
He's got like every conspiracy theory in the world in his brain, right?
And then he like asked for Neil deGrasse Tyson's advice, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I personally, that guy, but it's not that. It's whatever. We'll talk some other time. Neil deGrasse Tyson just sent him back a letter that was essentially like, "You're an idiot." So I don't think either of those guys are huge fans of each other. Mike K, thoughts on Etienne tonight? Across all the shows, he seems to not be discussed much. Mike, that's actually a good point. But also, I think the reason Etienne isn't being discussed as much, at least in my opinion here, is because he's the clear number one back. He's very reasonably priced. Like, I'm just going to have a good amount of Travis Etienne. It's just sometimes we don't talk as much about the guys like Etienne or Mahomes or stuff because you're just going to play him, and there's no two ways around it.
He's my favorite play on the slate. I mean, honestly, I'm a little worried because the chat keeps bringing up Etienne, and I'm like, I thought this might be a little sneakier, and it maybe won't be, but he's my favorite captain play. He's in the most lineups out of everybody tonight besides Mahomes for me. So yeah, he's my guy. So I support whatever Etienne propaganda they want to drop in there. Yeah.
All right. We talked about Worthy. For those of you guys that jumped in late, I don't really know if we have much else on him, Spags. If this is truly a personal decision for you guys to make. Like, if you think that, as a couple people in chat have already pointed out, if you think that Xavier Worthy is not going to be okay, only you can make the decision, right, to not play Xavier Worthy in all of your lineups at captain. I personally think I'm going to have a large amount of Xavier Worthy today. And it's kind of just simple. I mean, we saw how heavily used he was last week. He's clearly Mahomes' top target until Rashee Rice gets back. And then this offense actually looks pretty scary if they can find some semblance of a run game. But I mean, if you have Worthy and Rice out there, it doesn't even matter if Travis Kelce is on his way to being a corpse by NFL standards. Those two guys are good enough. And it's hard to see how they don't get Xavier Worthy involved, especially against a good Jags defense with a quality pass rush. Like, I don't think this Jags defense gets enough credit. They have been very good this year.
Yeah, a little lucky on turnovers. Like, that's the one thing that spooks me. Like, you just can't, through 4 games, it's crazy they have a 6% interception rate. Like, it's not sustainable, but it does speak to what they're doing. Like, they're kind of doing like a good version of what the Cowboys are doing, playing endless zone, but like they're killing it. When they're in zone, nobody's getting anything going on them. Yeah, really strong numbers. So I'm curious to see what they do tonight.
Also, Sean, that's really not a bad point. Like, if you are worried about Worthy and you think he's super limited, then maybe Thornton is your pivot there. Assuming Thornton's getting, very little ownership. We can take a look in the Sims run to see what his ownership is. Let's see, Thornton. Yeah, look at that, dude. 4% ownership at flex. I assume at captain he's sub 1%. Nothing. We're getting nothing. So he's got to be like sub 1% at captain. Just really tough to get them at that price. You mentioned it. They priced them as if Xavier Worthy wasn't playing, and Xavier Worthy wasn't even on the injury report when the salaries were released.
Yeah, sometimes the algorithm has like, oh, Thornton has a big box score days, but it doesn't account for circumstances around it. I would have to assume that's the case because, like, to me, there's no reason he should be. I mean, I don't know. He should be much further behind, like Marquise Brown. He should be like half of Worthy, I think, if even that.
All right, the kickers. We're going to make our rounds here, but we got to talk about the kickers. This feels like it could be a game played in between the 20s. And I don't say that about every game at all. 45.5 total, it was when I looked earlier. Still a decent total, but if the Jaguars defense is not a mirage, we know the Chiefs defense is good. I mean, they've held them up through a lot, including last season when the offense stunk. If that's the case, this just could be a game where Harrison Butker specifically, but Cam Little as well, both of them get a lot of work. If a 2-kicker lineup won it today, I would not be shocked. One more reason for that, Spags. If it's not Xavier Worthy, it isn't to say Hollywood Brown can't have a big game or one of these guys can't, but it's also possible. How many times have we seen a showdown slate where it's like Travis Kelce, previous version of Travis Kelce, 8 targets, and then 10 other guys have between 1 and 2 targets?
Yeah, I agree. And certainly for Butker, I mean, they're willing to kick him 50 to 60 pretty easily. So I think that's an easy one. And sim-wise too, I mean, Butker and Cam Little coming up 30% for Cam Little in the flex, 37% in my top 150 from Stokastic for Butker as well. They seem under-owned according to sim data. So I think they work well in lineups. I definitely have builds with both guys and also both guys separately, both guys together. I think they're strong plays. Didn't get to any at captain, but maybe. Honestly, you could if you wanted to. 150 set, I think you definitely want to get some at captain.
I wonder if we are. We are. Yeah. 3% Butker at captain. It's not crazy. Let me see here. A lot of Mahomes at captain, a lot of Lawrence, ETN 10%. So for whoever asked about Travis Etienne, we have 11% Etienne at captain and 43% at flex. A lot. Xavier Worthy, 9%. I wish I was getting a little bit more there, only because his price point. Like, if you look at the price points on today's slate, there are not many high-priced options. And this leads me to Brian Thomas Jr. Spags. Greg and I went back and forth on this on the strategy show a little bit. And he had said he could see him being lower owned and the ownership coming down. And my thinking here, he might be right at captain from what I'm seeing here. But my thinking overall is that people might just play Brian Thomas Jr. because it's not a slate where you have two marquee teams where there's like 5 different guys at $9,000 or more.
I think people will opt to play Trevor Lawrence more. I mean, the ownership supports that, so it's not really a hot take. Lawrence being projected for 51% flex ownership, Brian Thomas for 33. But I think people are just going to go, I get the QB, and I don't think Brian Thomas is going to produce enough. He's not known as like a PPR guy. He's only catching 3 balls a game so far this year. I like Brian Thomas a lot more. Like I have a good amount of lineups tonight where I put in Brian Thomas, didn't play Trevor Lawrence with it. I think for Brian Thomas, what stands out is getting 8 targets a game. He's also getting a decent amount of air yards with those targets, 12 air yards per target. He's been really inefficient, but that's never been Brian Thomas's issue this year, though, because he's been dropping everything and really not, been anywhere near as good as he was last year. He's at negative 0.3 EPA per target. I believe he was at like a 0.5 last year. So we're talking about a flip of almost a full point of value he's adding in terms of his expected points. I just think he's got to be better. And I think the matchup too, the fact the Chiefs go play man about 38% of the time, that's where Brian Thomas should be able to get open. He hasn't been good against man defenses. He's getting targeted 30% of the time he runs a route against them. So I think it's Brian Thomas's bounce back spot today. I didn't play him a ton at captain, so that's maybe the speaks to how big of a cosign I guess I can give him. But I think in the flex, like I like him in builds because you get less ownership than Trevor Lawrence. But if Lawrence has a good day, it might just go entirely through Brian Thomas anyway.
It's possible, sure. But another thing, you're getting man coverage because Trent McDuffie is such a stud. Like,
sure.
I know you don't worry too much about individual matchups. I view it differently sometimes because I feel like there are teams who will just find other ways to get the ball to players when a top corner is on a top receiver. That isn't always the case. Like sometimes you might just pepper Jamar Chase. AJ Brown against Surtain got some work yesterday, but it was Devonta Smith that ended up having that monster game. That's why I want to ask you about Travis Hunter. I wish he was cheaper. That's the only thing. Like I could see a way where Travis Hunter gets more work today than he has all season. It just sucks that, I'm getting with the field here and I'm fine. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to change it. If you told me Travis Hunter was 5K Spags, I would have a very different opinion on him today. Instead, I would rather just get to this. De'Ami Brown at $2,000. Like to me, at 2K, De'Ami Brown just makes more sense than a 6,600. Travis Hunter is 6,600 because his name is Travis Hunter. That has to be the only reason why.
Yeah, and if he got an interception, you wouldn't get any points for it either. So what does that do for you? I'm with you. He's too expensive. I like De'Ami Brown more as well. I think the big thing for Travis Hunter is that you have enough money to afford Brian Thomas on the slate. It's easy to put in, a 2K De'Ami Brown in the flex. It's going to be a spot where nobody really goes to Travis Hunter and, project for 16% ownership in the flex. It's really light, for the number 2 overall pick, a guy who was, good and efficient at Colorado. But I'm with you conceptually that there can be the potential to shut down, the outside receivers. Brian Thomas gets targeted a good amount in the slot and outside, but the Chiefs have been a lot more efficient in defending outside receivers than they have slot players. So that could benefit, basically the only role that Travis Hunter knows right now is a slot role. So yeah, I think there's a real game theory case for Travis Hunter, but projection wise, salary wise, he doesn't fit in that capacity in any way.
I might add a Rashard Smith touchdown up on the tails. It might just have to be done at this point, Spags. And you've been
thinking about it this entire time. We've talked 10 different players, and Rashard Smith has been running around your brain. He's not enough energy tonight. He's been running around your mind all day.
I might ask you to tail it with me. So we can sweat that together. And you can just hedge against him having a monster game when you have 0% exposure to him. Sounds like fun, right?
Actually, now I want to confirm that I have 0 because I definitely didn't put him in any of the single lineup sim hand build stuff that I saved. I got one lineup with him, one lineup out of a good 60.
Greg he's over there trading on Kalshi with the big boys. Kansas City, I hate the way that they present this because he's saying he took the Jags here at plus 3.5, right? I traded no. So Jags plus 3.5. I'm on the Chiefs at -3. So we'll see what happens in this one. Should be fun. If you guys, I got a little 50% super boost posted as well. If you guys are not over here on tails yet, What are you doing, man? We got the leaderboard where now you can see, who has the most profit over the last week, active profit streaks, fastest growing, all of this stuff. You can find new people. I go in, all the people I'm following right here. I can find all of their picks in one perfect spot, and everything is 100% free. Any of you guys in chat on Tails? I hope so. I hope you've been tailing. I hope you've been having fun with this because it's all free bets. Not only that, but a ton of, as you can see with Josh here, posted a 151 simulated ROI lineup, the Tails exclusive from the perfect lineup. That's right here. Let's see. What has he got? Worthy, Chiefs. There you go, Spags. Kareem Hunt, Travis Etienne, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. Little 5-1 Kansas City Jags action. What do you think of that? As Etienne, the lone run back. I kind of love that lineup.
I love 5-1s tonight because nobody's going to play him. It seems like everything's going to push towards balance build, and you do find a lot of the top ROI lineups are more onslaughty. But I think I think the game, anytime people aren't going to play onslaughts and naturally with projections, I think the onslaught always has some appeal.
Me too. Anyway, check it out, guys. Links down in the description, or just go to tails.bet. You can follow me, Spags, Josh, everybody over there, and some other great people like Mitch, DK, DFS. Those guys crush. They're super transparent. You can see their pickets. You know how much they won. So, yeah, check it out. And we got a whole lot more coming down the pike. If you haven't been there yet, it's a perfect time to do it, and it's all free. So there are a few guys we haven't talked about. We had a question from Michelle saying, are you okay with Lawrence at the flex? Of course. Yeah, I'm fine with Lawrence anywhere. I mean, we have 55% Lawrence at the flex. Brian Thomas is the 5th highest owned flex right now. So he's in the neighborhood of ETN. I'm with you, Spags. We can find common ground here. Hard not to like Travis Etienne today. Worthy at 8,800. Now, what happens, though, when you get down into this Hollywood Brown range? We talked about D'Ami Smith. Looks good. I don't disagree that Kareem Hunt's in play. I think just because he could punch one in. What about the Hollywood Browns, the Juju Smith-Schusters, and you know who else? Travis Kelce, dude. What do we do with Travis Kelce today?
I mean, look, I think that because it is a very zone-heavy matchup, really the splits are enormous. Like Jacksonville's running zone 75% of the time. I would think that would be a spot where the tight end should be able to sit down, kind of get some decent action going on that front. But that said, Travis Kelce is not really earning targets versus zone. He's only got a 14% rate there. Comparison, though, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, a 29% target rate versus zone. For whatever reason, he's been the most effective player out of anybody on the team right now versus zone defenses. And Juju, who played 55-plus snaps last game, he's also getting targeted about 19% of the time versus zone. So, these guys are involved enough. I think they're compelling plays. I prefer Hollywood. Actually did force in a lot of Hollywood today because I think people are going to go to Worthy. I'm cool with Worthy, but I think the matchup might be more of a Hollywood getting underneath targets, which they've been kind of giving him an approximation of the Rashee Rice role. I like that for him, but I think Kelce, he's just been so bad. And, maybe the distraction of his partner's album being dog shit, maybe it's going to hurt him this week. But I feel like at this kind of matchup, he should be able to get going. So really any Chief is not worthy. I think is worth.
Have you listened to the album?
I've been forced to because my wife is a very big Swiftie, and she's even she'll defend anything she does, even the bad, billionaire kind of stuff and whatever.
She said it stinks.
She's not a fan of the lyrics, likes the sounds. It's well produced. I don't think we'll have to hear it around the house as much. So that's a net win for me.
Oh, there you go. Dodgers. Runners on second and third, no outs. Good job. All right. Well, fun series, boys. On to next year. You get to play 162 games to get stomped out in 3 of them. Fun stuff. Isn't that crazy? You play 162 games just to be unceremoniously swept out of your own venue. Awesome. Anyway. No, I think Kelce's fine. I mean, he's 7,600. It's a showdown slate. I just have very little confidence in him right now. We had a question in chat as well, Spag, saying, explain the Pacheco fade. Well, I mean, we have only 2%. He's 15% owned right now when I ran the Sims. It's kind of tough to get to him right now. Could it just be a game where Pacheco looks good again? Maybe, but has he, you're an advanced data guy, an advanced metrics guy. Is there anything underlying within the data, within the metrics that would suggest that Pacheco has just been unlucky? or would it suggest that he just hasn't been any good?
I mean, so the whole point of why I swear by EPA so much is it kind of gives you the context to know how guys are performing,
Can you tell people
relative
what
to
that
adding
means?
value, not adding value, things like that.
Tell people what EPA is for people that are new to these kind of stats.
Yeah. So basically, what it does, expected points added is what it means. It reflects, how much you're adding to a team's expected point outcome. So whatever happens if a QB throws a pick, that number will be higher if you're kind of getting first downs, running for 5 yards opposed to an average run of like 3, things like that. In the same offense, you have Kareem Hunt, who I think we would all say is more dust than not, 30-year-old back who's got a lot of miles on him. Kareem Hunt's getting 0.1 EPA per rush for comparison. Pacheco's at negative 0.05. In the past game, you'd think Pacheco also has juice, and that's where he's had some historically. Kareem Hunt getting 0.45 EPA per target. Pacheco getting negative 0.3. Pacheco's missing slightly more tackles at 9%. That's not Kareem Hunt's game anyway. But the big thing to me is like Pacheco, I think, is underperforming substantially what you'd expect from the role. And that's why, if you want to make the case for Brashard Smith, I would get it. But right now, it's Pacheco's a less efficient version of Kareem Hunt in this offense. And it's not a player that I think gets the data excited and doesn't get me excited either.
Were you, sorry, my mouse froze. Were you a Norm Macdonald fan by any chance?
I was.
They had Super Dave Osborne on his first episode of his podcast that he had on YouTube. And they're like, explain to the folks at home, like, where'd you get your hat? Got it at Ralph's. Explain to the folks at home what Ralph's is, to the point where Super Dave was just about to walk off stage. It just became this incredible running. It just, when I said explain EPA, made me, everyone should go watch that. It's archived somewhere. But yeah, no, I think you're right. Would you, okay, so if you had, let's do this. If you had to take this 6K range, right? Or let's even say like, okay, ready? Look at this range with me here. We'll go from Cam Little up to Travis Hunter. Cam Little, Tyquan Thornton, Harrison Butker, Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Hunter. I'll throw Hollywood Brown in there as well. $2,000 range there. Where would you put Pacheco as far as preference goes today?
So Pacheco, I think, is mostly interesting because he does project for less ownership than Kareem Hunt. There's a little bit of paying up to be contrarian on that. But in terms of just how he's played and even still, like, you people in the chat defending Pacheco and kind of being confused why he's not being played, I just think he ends up a little bit more owned than that. So I would put him behind Hollywood Brown. I would put him behind Kareem Hunt, especially accounting for him being 2K more expensive. I'd put him behind Juju. I'd put him behind the kickers. I'd put him ahead of Tyquan Thornton. And honestly, it might be unfair to put him too far behind Hunt because they are just functionally playing the same way. Hunt's just been a little more efficient. But yeah, he's just, if he gets overplayed, I don't want to be the guy with the people overplaying him.
Are you interested today in, let me go down here, the defenses? Because I'm very interested in both kickers for what it's worth. I've mentioned that. I have no issue getting to either kicker today. I do prefer Harrison Butker, but I like this spot for both of them. What about the defenses? We talk about, I know you said that the Jags have been a bit lucky as far as the turnovers go, which is going to happen for sure with certain teams, but they have been pretty decent. Their pass rush looks good. Hines Allen is pretty nasty. Like, he can get to you. And there are some, like, their secondary has not been bad. Their run defense has been better than advertised. And the Chiefs defense is great too. What do we think about that? A potential, as Jake says, 2017 game. Yeah, maybe a 17-14 game seems unlikely, but if it's a low scoring game, you might see some optimal defense. I'm not saying both in the same lineup, but I'm not just fading them either.
I think with how the Jags have played this year, and again, it's assuming that there is some regression due, but the way they've played, which is really inhibiting every passer who's gone against them, they have a negative 0.18 EPA per drop back allowed, negative 0.2 EPA per pass. These are some of the best marks in the league right now. But that's also because they're getting turnovers. Turnovers create, more negative EPA going the other way. But that in mind, Mahomes has been sloppy this year. He's only got a 74% catchable ball rate. You're talking about Cam Ward level with that. A lot of it's because he's ineffective on deep shots. This hasn't been connecting with his guys. But, for Mahomes, I think that he does play a little sloppy right now. I mean, sometimes when the Chiefs play from behind, it's because it's a Mahomes mistake, a miscommunication. And that's how Mahomes creates more value for himself, but also gives the defense a shot. I think some nice ROI teams come when you play Jags. I didn't play him in the captain, but there were some high ROI lineups with Chiefs D and Jags D up top. But I think Jags D to me is really compelling to play alongside Mahomes today because I think Mahomes is very likely to make a winning lineup in the flex at the very least, if not a captain. But I think if you play that defense with him, you're going to decrease your ownership product so much, with the Jags only projected for about 10% ownership in the flex.
Love the idea of that, dude. That is a great call. Look at Spags thinking outside of the box heavy in this one. That's solid. I mean,
and you put Rashard Smith in there and you're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying if you're playing Jags D with Mahomes, you need to have Rashard Smith in there.
Yeah. It's a must-have correlation. They're intertwined completely.
No, it makes sense. Like, could Mahomes put himself in a position to win the game or even just be in the optimal, but the Jags defense is still there? Yeah. What about the other way around? Because I could absolutely see the other way around. Chiefs defense and Lawrence. And here's what I'm saying. You've seen so many drops on the Jags. I don't know if it's going to continue, but you've seen a lot of that with the Jags this year. And Trevor Lawrence, despite Liam Cohen coming in, he hasn't looked particularly sharp. I do blame a lot on the pass catchers, but still, he hasn't been great. There's another realm here where the Chiefs get out to an early lead, the Jags turn it over, they have a bunch of drops, and then he needs to dude, Jake Browning, like yesterday, again, just not to bring it up again, but the idea that he had negative points like midway through the third and finished with 22 and Chase finished with 32. So I do think you could go like Trevor Lawrence, De'Ami Brown, Brian Thomas, or like, something like that, and still have the Chiefs D end up with 15 points or something.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lawrence has been pretty bad too, relative to what we expected out of him for sure. And I think too, just in terms of how we view him, like he is a little more error prone. Like Mahomes has thrown only 0.6% interception rate this year. Lawrence is at 2.6%, so he's basically right with league average. I think it's certainly possible. To me, the defenses both seem underplayed in the slate. I would favor Jags because I think that they're going to be even less played. People hate Lawrence a little bit more, but yeah, both defenses I think just get forgotten on the slate, and that's not always the case in these showdowns.
Yeah, I'm gonna find one of these lineups right now in the Sims. Find like a Trevor Lawrence captain or something, Chiefs D. That would be fun. Spags, top 2 pass catchers to stack with Patrick Mahomes for a single entry.
Based off the projection, it'd be Worthy. So if you're doing something unique in the lineup, that's not this part, that's gonna be pretty chalky. I would say Worthy. If everything else is chalk for you, I would go to Hollywood over Worthy personally. So yeah, it's the top 2, right? So yeah, I would say Worthy is the obvious play. If you need a more contrarian lineup, I go to Hollywood.
One thing we didn't talk about yet, and we had a question in chat as well. What do you make of Tootin? You brought him up when you compared him to Smith earlier today. What do you think about him in this spot?
I think he's an interesting player because he does have some touchdown equity. He has one red zone opportunity a game, 0.5 to the 10-yard line. We've seen him take literal goal line work. So I think for Tootin, I like that he's also cheaper than Rashard Smith, and maybe ends up a little bit less ownership because the sim isn't giving him the same amount of love. He and LeQuint Allen are just a little bit more involved than they probably should be. But, to me with ATN, I have such a big lean for ATN. I think it's a really good rushing matchup because now KC has played in the usage that Jacksonville's had for their running backs. I like ATN a lot, but there's a world where ATN maybe plays well, but Tootin steals a touchdown. So to me, I want to play the Jacksonville run game, and ATN preferred, but if not him, or even with him at captain, I could play some Tootin too.
You'd play them both in the same lineup?
Yeah, because I think Tootin can steal one touchdown and be the value guy. So I'm willing to do it. Didn't do it a lot, but there was a couple of single line of sims where I was like, okay, this sims positively. I'm cool with it.
That's a reasonable point, though. Yeah, I mean, if you just vulture a touchdown on a showdown slate, it might be enough, whereas ETN just racks up all the yardage. I get that. If you guys have any other questions, let us know. We can hit on all of these. Morningwood Blues, Strange is due to score a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, 3-0 Dodgers. Good stuff. That's sarcasm, by the way. Yes. What do you think of Brenton Strange?
I think he's a compelling play. He's been targeted well on the year. His he's at a 22% target rate, which is basically actually higher than Travis Hunter's been target per out run. A little bit lower than Brian Thomas, a little bit lower than Parker Washington. But for a tight end that's playing 56 snaps a game, he's playing the full workload. Hunter is not. De'Ami Brown, who I do like, but he's not. Parker Washington's playing not a full route allotment. So it's really the guys that are out there on the field the most are Brenton Strange and Brian Thomas. So I don't think Brenton Strange has as much of like a rebound spot as Brian Thomas does, but he's another guy who's been pretty solid, in a man situation as well. I think Brenton Strange is a nice play. He's just, I would rather go down to Dimey Brown if I can, but that's obviously, that's my choice.
Chris Albert, sorry, we missed this earlier. Is there any chance Royals runs routes tonight? I don't know, Spags. How much of his 14 snaps were in garbage time last game?
Yeah, I don't even know. He's not on my radar. Given that it's a showdown, if you have some data, Krista, you can go on it, but I think we have enough guys now worthy being in the mix. I don't really want to go to Royals yet. I would like to see somebody not in the rotation, but yeah, like I don't have a lean for Royals. I think he's talented. Utah State, he crushed. He just has not gotten a run out that's beneficial to him being on the field and being targeted meaningfully from what I've seen.
No Nico Remigio for you today?
No, I'm not. Again, my fancy plays are gone. Brashard Smith's is fancy I'm going to get. That's the missionary of fancy plays.
Remigio has, yeah. What, Remigio is just straight doggy style on the floor?
I think you're hanging from the ceiling if you're Remigio.
Yeah, as Shane Gillis would say, you're trying to do the cool tricks you see in the videos. Yeah. That Remigio he's got 2 touches this year. So there's that. But Chris Williams, no need to go that low tonight. There's more than enough value. There's a lot of value. It's pretty easy to get there to some cheap guys. And if you guys want to use the Sims, don't forget, man, you have Thursday night football. I believe we have another. So Spags, Thursday night football. And then you have another 9:30 game, a Europe game. I don't know where it is. It's in London.
Yeah. And
you have a doubleheader on Monday night again this week. So the schedule has made it super beneficial for us. Doing DFS content, I love it. I'd much rather have it this way. Smaller Sunday main slates, doubleheaders on Monday, games everywhere. If you use the link in the description, guys, I'm telling you right now, even if you don't have it for tonight, go over, click claim offer on any of these books or pick 'em sites if you're in a non-legal state. Place a bet tonight, right? Place a bet, because by the time it settles, all you got to do is email us at support@stokastic.com and tell us what you want. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, right, you have a month of the Sims. If you sign up on multiple, every one of these equals a new month of the Sims. You could free roll the entire NFL season and add other sports in. You want UFC, you want NBA coming up. This is how you do it. And we just added Onyx odds. Over there, they're in 40 plus states. The plus is DC. Spend $10, get 100 in Onyx cash, which is the equivalent of cash. Okay. And then place a bet. When it settles, take a screenshot of your settled bet and your welcome email and email us. That is it. If it sounds like a process, it's not, especially considering you get $100 in Onyx cash plus a free month of the Sims. And every single one of these, all the bonus bets, all of the match deposits, all of the bonus cash, all of that stuff, that you're already free rolling plus the month. So take advantage of this if you wanted to get access to these tools. Simply the easiest way to do it, hands down. And I think our users would be happy enough to say the same thing. These ones are just from yesterday. There's the 20K. Our own Matt Bellman took down a 40K yesterday in the Showdown streets. Some monster wins. Last year we had 3 milli winners. We already have 1 or 2 this year repping the tools. So there's all the millies from last year. Just some incredible wins already this season. If you want to jump in, that's the way to do it. Or you can, of course, just go in to standard way, weekly, monthly, check it out. But that's the way to do it. All right. Your optimal captain for today. You got to pick one of them, and then we'll answer a couple late questions here that are trickling in.
It's ATN for me. I think that he allows you to still play on the beaten path of logic. He's got a really good role, getting 3.5 red zone opportunities a game. That's more than any of the running backs in the game, more than any receivers as well. And he's also getting a ton of touches. I think the Chiefs' run defense has been the clear weak spot for them on the year. So to me, I think it's ATN. I'm hoping, but really, with all my money, I'm hoping it's ATN.
Right. Yeah, you have a reason. Dynasty Insights says Brian Thomas. What do you guys think? I'm going to go Brashard Smith. No. Okay. I'm going to go Worthy, Could bite me. Maybe the ankle swell. I mean, he's got some puff down there. But 8,800, man, it's just such a crazy price point on him. I don't think he should be 8,800 on a showdown slate. I simply don't, with no Rashee Rice. You already saw 4 deep targets in his first game back. Give me one contrarian captain that you want to go with.
Contrarian, Hollywood Brown. I think I just for the reason that you mentioned, I think that Worthy. Look, I worry that ATN is like a little bit too obvious to play. I think Worthy will be the first one that people go to get away from playing Mahomes at captain. And I think if you go to Hollywood Brown, you got a shot at him capturing some upside here. He has a guy that's been spiked a meaningful target ceiling in the past. I mean, week 1, you would have thought Hollywood Brown would be a league winner this year. That has been the case. And maybe it's not a great sign that they saw him get so many targets and we're like, we don't want to. Got to stop doing this shit. That's never a great thing, but
right.
Maybe they go back to it today.
All right. I'm going to go. This is going to sound wild. Travis Hunter Spags.
That's a ballsy one. And at some point, he has to have a good game. Like, I think it's more likely you get the better Brian Thomas game today. But Hunter's still playing. They have talked, or some coach speak about giving him some special designed touches, whatever that means. He could break one too. He's ungodly fast. It just hasn't worked out so far.
It has not, but I'm interested. Anyway, appreciate you guys as always. Have a great rest of the night. Good luck tonight, and we will see you back here tomorrow. NFL first look for week 6. It is a good one, and pricing is tighter than it was in week 5. Good luck, guys. We'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.